Welcome to MCCT, Microcrawler Capability Test. That's where we test and compare the driving performance and capability of micro trucks and microcrawlers from 1 to 18th to 1 to 24th scale. Trucks in stock condition as well as highly modified and upgraded ones. The trucks have to pass through 10 different tests. We'll get either points for their results or their performance will be graded. And the final scores will reveal the most capable microcrawlers. We check their climbing ability, descent performance, their tilt angle, their performance in overcoming easy and difficult obstacles, and their low speed modulation and low speed driving performance. Check the description for details of tests, scores, and mode of grading. Now let's start and present this episode's test trucks. In MCCT episode 4, we will again test 3 1 to 24th trucks, unmodified, out of the box. 2 Hobby Plus CR-24, the Bronco and the Jeep, and the RGT 136-24-0, the Adventurer V2. The Hobby Plus CR-24 with the Bronco body has a wheelbase of 120 mm, a weight of 225 grams, and tires with 46 by 17 mm. It runs on a 1S LiPo with 600 mAh, and it has a 5-wire servo, and the small 30 size motor is in central position. The Hobby Plus CR-24 with Jeep body does have the same chassis as the Bronco and the Defender of the last episode. The Jeep CR-24 is also sold as Amevi, AMX Rock, AM24 Ranger, and FTX Outback Mini 2.0 Alto. It also has a wheelbase of 120 millimeters and a weight of 232 grams, and the same tires and lipo and servo and motor as the Bronco. The RGT 136-24-0 V2 Adventurer has a wheelbase of 120 millimeters, a weight of 235 grams, tires with 46 by 17 millimeters, and runs on a 1S LiPo with 520 mAh. It has a 3-wire servo and a 50 size motor in front position. The Adventurer of this episode and the RGT Defender of episode 3 of MCCT do have exactly the same chassis. They only differ in bodies, and the Defender of episode 3 does have a rear bumper. The Adventurer does not have a rear bumper and larger body posts on the rear side. So they are nearly exactly the same. However, you will see in this episode their capability is very different. And now let's start with the tests. Test 1, climb on a rough surface. 45 degrees, no problem. 46, 47. And also 48 degrees, no problem for the CR-24s, and not either for the RGT Adventure. 49 degrees, CR-24 Bronco still can do it. CR-24 Jeep struggling a little bit, but finally can do it. And the Adventurer, no problem with 49 degrees. 50 degrees. And that's finally too much for the CR-24 Bronco style. And also too much for the CR-24 with the Jeep style body. But no problem for the RGT V2 Adventurer. 51 degrees, the Adventurer will climb it. And a little bit struggling, but it even climbs 52 degrees. And 53 degrees. That's finally a little bit too much, also for the RGT Adventurer. And here are the results of MCCT 4. Test 1, climb on a rough surface. The CR-24 Bronco and Jeep could climb 49 degrees and get 4 points for their results, and the RGT Adventurer V2 even could climb 52 degrees and receives 7 points for this. And now let's compare the results of today's test trucks with the results of the CR-24 and the RGT 1-24 of MCCT 3, the unmodified ones. And you will see that the CR-24 Bronco and Jeep are a little bit better than the CR-24 Defender of MCCT 3. That's probably due to the different and lighter body. And the RGT Adventurer V2, it's the best of all those trucks, and it's way better than the RGT Defender V2 of MCCT 3, which could only climb 45 degrees. So that's a huge difference, and that's only based on the different body and the missing rear bumper and the lighter, shorter body posts. What a difference. Wow. And now let's compare the trucks of today's test with all trucks tested so far. Test 1, climb on a rough surface, and you will see the RGT Adventurer V2 is really quite good. With 52 degrees, it's even better than the modified CR-24 Defender with wheel weights, and the CR-24 Jeep and Bronco are quite okay. They are better than the CR-24 Defender and way better than the RGT Defender. Little bit poorer climbing abilities than the XL-SX24 Gladiator and Wrangler. And now test 2, climb on a smooth surface, 45 degrees, no problem, 46, 47. And also 48 degrees, no problem for the CR-24s and the RGT Adventurer. 49 degrees on a smooth surface. Bronco struggling a little bit, but does it. And the Jeep also struggling a little bit, but finally can do it. The RGT Adventurer, 49 degrees, no problem. 50 degrees on a smooth surface. Bronco is struggling hard, but too much for the CR-24 Bronco, and the same for the CR-24 Jeep. The RGT Adventurer, 50 degrees on a smooth surface, no problem. 51 degrees. Struggling, but does it. And 52 degrees on a smooth surface. And the RGT Adventurer V2 still does it. 53 degrees, really steep. It's struggling hard. And falls. Next try. Come on. And will it do it? 53 degrees, RGT Adventurer. Nearly to the end. Wow. Here are the results of Test 2 of MCCT 4, climb on a smooth surface. The CR-24's Bronco and Jeep could do 49 degrees and get 4 points for this. And the RGT Adventurer V2 nearly did 53 degrees. 52 degrees it could do to the end, 53 not, so it will get 7.5 points for this. And let's compare the trucks of MCCT 4 with the CR-24 and the RGT Defender of MCCT 3. And you see again the CR-24 Bronco and Jeep were a little bit better than the CR-24 Defender unmodified of MCCT 3. And the RGT Adventurer was again by far best and way better than the RGT Defender V2 of MCCT MCCT 3. And now let's compare the results of this episode's truck to all trucks tested so far, and we see the RGT Adventurer with 52, nearly 53 degrees. Really good, a top result. And the CR-24 Jeep and Bronco in stock form with 49 degrees, not super good but not worst of all. And now to test 3, descent, going down, stop and up again. 45 degrees, no problem for the CR-24 Bronco and for the CR-24 Jeep. And the RGT Adventurer already does have troubles at only 45 degrees. The best climber is not the best in going down. 46 degrees. No problem for the Bronco, no problem for the Jeep, but the Adventurer is already struggling. Let's check 47 degrees. Again, no problem for the CR-24. But the RGT Adventurer V2 is not able to do it anymore. 48 degrees. Still no problem for the CR-24s. 49 degrees. Easy. 50 degrees, already quite steep. Still no problem for the Bronco, and the Jeep also does it. 51 degrees. The Bronco does it, no problem. And the CR-24 Jeep, struggling a little bit, but not falling, is able to do it. 52 degrees, the Bronco still does it. And the CR-24 Jeep, 52 degrees, it falls. That's finally too much for the Jeep. And now let's try 53 degrees, the CR-24 with Bronco style body. Will it be able to do 53 degrees? Nearly, it falls at the end. And now let's compare the results of test 3, descent, and we see the RGT Adventurer only 46 degrees here. That's a really poor result. That's because of its body, but also because of its super poor low speed modulation. It's super hard to make a smooth stop and start again. So not only the body, which makes it an awesome climber, but not an awesome truck for going down. And the CR-24s do have much better low speed modulation. It's much easier to stop them smoothly and start again. And the CR-24 Jeep and the Bronco with 51 degrees and the Bronco 52, nearly 53 degrees, do have awesome results in this test. The Adventurer gets only 0.5 points here. The Jeep 3 points, and the Bronco 52, nearly 53 degrees, gets 3.75 points in test 3 descent. And now let's compare episode 4's test trucks to the CR-24 and RGT of episode 3, and we will see Bronco and Jeep far best. Awesome results in test 3 descent, going down 52, nearly 53 and 51 degrees. The CR-24 Defender and the RGT Defender of episode 3 could make 47 degrees, so far less, and the Adventurer only 46 degrees. The best climber is the worst in going down and gets only 0.5 points here. And now the comparison to all trucks tested so far, and we see the CR-24 Bronco super good. Second in the line, only the cheap Gladiator, the SCX-24, was better in going down. The CR-24 Bronco 52, nearly 53 degrees, and also the Jeep, the CR-24 Jeep with 51 degrees is really good, better than most SCX-24s in this, for example. And the RGT Adventurer with its awesome climbing abilities, here it's the last in the line of all 13 trucks tested so far. And now tests 4 and 5, the tilt angle first to the left, the CR-24 Bronco to the left side, already more than 42 degrees, more than 43 degrees, .8 degrees was the highest angle it could stand, and the CR-24 Jeep to the left side, again far more than 40 degrees already. .42 degrees. .7 degrees, 0.8, 43 degrees already. And now it falls. And the RGT Adventurer to the left side. Wow, 43, 44. 44.5, still doesn't fall. 45 degrees. Nearly 46 degrees already. What a result. 46 degrees, RGT Adventurer 1 to 24th. 46.25, 0.35, and now it will fall. And now to the right side, there's CR-24 Bronco, 41, 42, no problem. 43 degrees, still standing. Will it do 44 degrees? Yeah, 44 degrees and still standing. 44.2 degrees to the right side. And the CR-24 cheap body, 40 degrees, no problem. $41.5. $42 degrees. Still standing. 43 degrees. Good. $43.5 degrees. 43.7 and still standing. 43.8. 44 degrees to the right side. 44.3 degrees, and now it's falling. And the RGT Adventurer to the right side. Absolutely top result to the left side. 42.6 degrees only to the right side. Here are the results. The Adventurer 46.35 degrees to the left side. What a result. 7.2 points for this. But to the right side, still a good result. 42.6 and 5.3 points, but far less. And the CR-24s, the Bronco, 43.8, 44.2, much more similar results as in the cheap with 43 and 44.3 degrees. And now let's compare the trucks to the trucks tested in MCCT 3 in stock condition, and we see the Adventurer and the CR-24 Bronco in cheap are far better than the trucks tested in the last episode, and the RGT Defender was really poor. Compare this to the RGT Adventurer with the same chassis, only different body and bumpers. What a difference. And here are all trucks tested so far, and we see that the RGT Adventurer and the CR-24 Bronco in cheap are really good. They are on place 4, 5 and 6 of all trucks tested so far, tilt angle left and right. So really good results. And now test number 6, the flat side of the hill of branches. It's not super easy for the CR-24 Bronco, but it finally can do it without major problems. 1.5 points for this, and it's absolutely the same for the CR-24 cheap. 1.5 points, and the RGT Adventurer V2 is doing a little bit harder than the CR-24s here. It's struggling harder, but finally also manages to climb the flat side of the hill of branches. So the Adventurer gets 1 out of 2 points here on test number 6, and the CR-24 cheap and Bronco get 1.5 points. And now test number 7, the steep side of the hill of branches. And for the Bronco, for the CR-24 Bronco, it's too steep, too difficult. And the same for the CR-24 cheap. This obstacle, this test is too difficult. not able to climb the hill. And also the RGT Adventurer struggling hard, but no chance to climb the steep side of the hill of branches. So unfortunately, results of test 7, steep hill of branches, 0 points for all the test trucks of MCCT 4. And now test 8, hill of pebble stones, river stones, flat side, no problem for the CR-24 Bronco and Jeep, and also no problem for the RGT Adventurer. Test 8, 2 out of 2 points for all 3 trucks. And test number 9, the steep side of the hill of pebblestones, super difficult obstacle, and the Bronco is trying and trying and trying hard, but no matter how long it tries, it's not able to climb this obstacle. That's a big surprise, because the CR-24 Defender in episode 3 of MCCT could climb it and didn't have big troubles. And the CR-24 Jeep is also trying hard. But it's doing better than the Bronco. A lot of troubles, a lot of difficulties. But in contrary to the Bronco, it is finally, after many tries, able to climb the steep side of the hill of Tablestone. The RGT Adventurer does really hard. A lot of tries. Really. Even countless tries did not help. It was not able to climb the steep side of the hill of pebblestones. And so here are the results. 0 points for the CR-24 Bronco and the RGT Adventurer, and 1 point for the CR-24 Jeep. So in this test number 9, the CR-24 Defender, which was not as good as the Jeep and the Bronco in most tests before, was clearly better because it achieved 3 points here. Big surprise. And now the last test, test number 10, low speed performance modulation. The CR-24s do have exactly the same electronics and the same electronics as the CR-24 Defender of MCCT 3. So they will get the same points for this. Low speed modulation is not super bad and the trucks are not super loud, but we don't judge noise here. There are trucks with worse performance in this, but of course there are also trucks with better performance. They get 1 point out of 5 as the CR-24 Defender in MCCT 3. The RGT Adventurer, as the defender of MCCT 3, does have clearly worse low speed performance than the Hobby Plus CR-24s. That's quite important, and the disadvantage in test 3 in going down, stopping and starting again. It's bad, but there are still trucks which have worse low speed modulation, so the Adventurer will get 0.5 points out of 5 for its low speed performance, and the Hobby Plus CR-24 Jeep and Bronco will get 1 point. And here's now the final score of MCCT episode 4. You can see all tests from 1 to 10 and all points the trucks have gained. And we see that the CR-24 Bronco and the CR-24 Jeep are nearly equal, nearly the same result. 28.25 points and 28.15 points. The RGT Adventurer has the highest number of points, 31 points. However, the RGT Adventurer and the CR-24 Bronco failed 2 tests, the steep side of the Hill of Branches and the steep side of the Hill of Pebblestones, while the CR-24 Jeep only failed 1 test. So this makes it to the winner of MCCT 4. And now let's compare the trucks of MCCT 4 with the trucks of MCCT 3, the 2 unmodified stock trucks, the Hobby Plus CR-24 Defender and the RGT Defender, and we see that the trucks of MCCT 4 of this episode are clearly better. The CR-24 Defender only could achieve 22.75 points and the RGT Defender less than 10 points. Super bad. However, the CR-24 Defender also did only fail 1 test, the steep side of the Hill of Branches, as the CR-24 Jeep, and the RGT Adventurer with 31 points, more points than those, did fail 2 tests. So the ranking would be of the 1 to 24 Jeep, RGT and Hobby Plus trucks. The CR-24 Jeep is number 1, then number 2, the CR-24 Defender, even if it doesn't have a lot of points. Then with 2 failures, the RGT Adventurer with 31 points, the CR-24 Bronco, and super bad, the RGT Defender. And here's the final score and the ranking of all 13 trucks tested so far after MCCT 4. Remember, passing a test is more important than points, so all trucks which passed all tests will be ranked above all trucks that failed 1 or 2 or even 3 tests, even if their count is lower. Still, the SCX-24 Betty, by far the best truck of all, and out of this episode the CR-24 Jeep takes 7th place now, and the RGT Adventurer with 31 points 10th place. Check 9th place, the HG18 Tiger Dog, 46 points but failed 2 tests. And number 12 is now the CR-24 Bronco with 28.25 points. However, still way better than the RGT Defender. That's it for MCCT episode 4. Watch out for the next episode. There are still a lot of trucks to be tested. MCCT will be back.